The following program is a production of All the Way Live Entertainment.
Hello, pro wrestling world. This is Desi DeRata, here with the rights and wrongs of pro wrestling with Mr. Green.
You know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
For the World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion of the world.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
As an interviewer, it's always fun to get someone that is multi-talented to talk to, and on the podcast today we have someone that fits that profile. He's a bit of a jack of all trades, seemingly, and specifically as it relates to the entertainment game, and we're going to discuss her wrestling, of course, but we may also get into some of those outside ventures as well. Joining me on the show, representing the Arrow Club, Desi DeRata. Am I saying that correctly?
You absolutely are. There's nothing special to it, just as it reads. Hi.
Well, you never know, and you never want to insult the pro wrestler, because on the off chance that I might be on the West Coast and I may see you may punch me in the face for, that's for mispronouncing my name, or, something like that. So I want to make sure that I get it correct.
Well, I appreciate you wanting to get it correct. You'll probably have to do a little bit more for me to want to punch you in the face, because you'll be out if I punch you.
Oh, well, don't knock me out. I don't want to. First off, I don't want to be embarrassed, being knocked out. Secondly, I'm not trying to incur your wrath, but you never know. Some wrestlers, as I have come across, have been a little short-tempered and didn't take much to kind of tap their nerves. So but you seem a little bit more easygoing than most.
I would say so. I mean, and that's good that if people have a short temper, that they can utilize that in the ring. I think that adds for the fire. But I definitely more laid back. That's the thing, though, is with when someone who's laid back is angry, it's going to be hell. All wrath will be unleashed. So it's going to be far more devastating than the people with short tempers who have to get angry all the time.
Well, fortunately, if you're a wrestler, you're in the right line of work. If you decide that, if you happen to be one of those individuals that has a short fuse or short temper or what have you. But like I said, you seem a little bit more laid back or, a little mellow, so it's all right with me.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I just had a hard training for the last 3 hours, so I'm pretty
You're pretty wiped
extended.
out, right? Okay, so
yeah.
Even if you were angry, you might not have had the juice in you to really get crunked up right now. All right, that's good. Well, then I'm safe. So, we have to get to it. It is interview time. It's time to let the Women's Pro Wrestling Network listeners and the listeners of this podcast, the rights and wrongs of pro wrestling, get to know just who Desi is and what she's all about. So, because, in this crazy pro wrestling world, there's a lot of different fractured areas. You being out on the West Coast, I am here in the South. And, there's some wrestling going on in the Midwest and Mid-South and the Northeast. So you guys are all over the place. So I've taken it upon myself to try to gather as much information about all of you as possible.
We appreciate that, because then you get better questions to ask that delve deeper into who we really are. But honestly, I think that with just a small phone call, a little interview, or especially our first one, you will just scratch the surface of Desi.
So you got that much going on? Well, I better get to it then. So, and there is no better way to start than why on earth did you get involved in such a crazy business such as pro wrestling?
Yeah. Well, now that I've been in it for this small amount of time, it's very clear to me that it's where I belong, because it is crazy, and I don't think that there's anything else quite like it. I mean, there's entertainment, there's all kinds of forms of entertainment, but pro wrestling is its own little, it's its own niche, its own world. And when you're involved with the pro wrestling world on the independent scene all the way up, and even in the backyard scene, it's just, I don't know if there really is a backyard scene, but it's really consuming, and it's kind of the only world to those that are involved. We kind of forget that other people might not know anything about pro wrestling. But the way I got involved with it was exactly that, was because I was in entertainment, and I had always been an entertainer and performer, performance artist or actress. And I used to feel a little guilty that I couldn't say, oh, I love pro wrestling since I was 5, and my uncle took me to my first show. I mean, that's a common story, and gosh, I wish that I had something that guided me since I was age 5. When I was growing up, I tell this briefly in every interview, I grew up in a very tiny mountain town, and we didn't watch a lot of TV. We spent all day outside other than school and sleeping for the most part, climbing trees and stuff. So we didn't have like a lot of influence. I didn't feel like I had a lot of influence from things. Now that I look back on it, I don't remember even having like a hero or someone I looked up to, and I'm like, how sad is that? Because I remember looking at some people who were doing things that were cool, and I didn't want to be like them. I wanted to do it too and be me. So I just had different interests, I guess, growing up. My dad always liked boxing. My dad liked fighting and liked sports. So I just unfortunately never got into the wrestling world as a child. However, the first time I did lay my eyes on a wrestling match live, I was in love. I know exactly what they were talking about when they were 5 years old and their uncle took them to the show. I felt it, but I just happened to be an adult.
Okay. Do you remember the specific show or match or performer that captivated you at that moment?
I have no idea who they were. From what I learned now and understanding promotions and wrestlers, since then, it was probably some crap show and some crap wrestlers. But actually, I'm certain of it. But what it was that captivated me was, it wasn't so much the performers or what they were doing, because I didn't know anything of what was. When you're not a wrestler, you don't really know what's the right way to do something, or if someone's doing it good or not. Like in anything, any sport, only if you're involved do you know where the correct things are that they're doing. Yes. But with that match that did do it for me was the energy. Like the audience, that's exactly what it was. The audience, they weren't probably wrestlers either, but they were so into what was going on. And at that point, there's a lot of yelling and drama and shit talking that I just had never seen anything like that.
And you knew just at that moment, I got to be a part of that.
I said almost those exact words, probably verbatim. But I said, I have to do this. This is what I need to do. Because I was already doing stage performances and performance art, and I'm expressing myself through movement and music and dance and all these things, but only so much can you engage with the audience. And then I would do some of the type of performance where it was solely with audience. Like, you didn't have to even be talented or do anything, as long as you were engaging the audience and looking at them and making them feel special. And that was something totally different. And then I did sports and athletics, and that was just something way different. But this like wrestling thing that I saw with my eyes for the first time live was including all of that. And then there were costumes.
Yeah.
It was just everything.
So let's talk about that. I mean, because I'm assuming at this point in time when you came across your first show and you got captivated by the wrestling that was going on, you said that you were a performer, a stage performer at this particular juncture of life. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
performance artist.
But
yeah,
if you do, and I'm just going off of because performance artists could cover a lot of ground, but I'm going to talk
Broad.
specifically about the stage at this point, because on the stage, you're almost, the audience technically isn't there while you're performing.
Yes, exactly.
And to address the audience is a no-no. In fact,
Pretty much.
that's breaking the fourth wall. So yeah, you're pretty much taught, hey, you're in your own world, and I know that would sound weird to somebody that has no, I guess, stage, or they don't really understand the environment of the stage. But if you're listening and you're watching them on the stage, just imagine that there's a wall between the audience and the stage, and they can't look out and see you. That's
Pretty much.
kind of what that is. And I'm guessing what you're telling me is that one of the lures here was, as a wrestler, you can engage the audience as much as you are capable of doing without, offsetting your match, basically.
Exactly. And not only can you, but better if you do. That's just kind of what wrestling is. Everyone's involved in the show in its entirety, from the ring to the back row.
Yeah, that is true. It is a very engaging environment, particularly for those fans who have gotten super deep into it. So I guess that was a big lure. The costuming was a big lure, because you go from the very subtle to the outrageous in a professional wrestling environment, and it does cover a lot of ground. And this athleticism without the burden necessarily, let's say,
Yeah.
of having to focus solely on the win so much that I got to tune out the audience, because when you're in a really competitive environment, the audience is great. It's great to have that motivation behind you, but really you got to be focused on winning.
Right. You're not focused on what the audience is wanting you to do or doesn't want you to do. The energy you'll feel, especially if you're on a team and the team's winning and your fans are cheering for you, you could feel that, but you're still going to do what you're supposed to do. You're not going to sway because of the audience, or even look them in the eye and talk to them. You don't address any of them.
Exactly. So there you have it, folks. Desi and I have just given you entertainment/sports 101. That's a little extra bonus stuff that came out of the show here. I wasn't planning on going into a teaching class, but hey, every once in a while you get a little bonus material out of these podcasts. So that was the introduction to you getting involved in the ring. I'm going to rewind it back just a tad, because you talked about you being a performer.
Mm-hmm.
When you began doing the performance, let's cover the ground that you were a part of, because as we said a little bit earlier, you could do quite a bit just under the umbrella of I was a performance artist. So within that, what did you do specifically, if you don't mind?
Oh yeah, no, I don't mind. Is this recording or?
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So we're on.
You're rewinding back to specifically, because that's why I use the term performance artist, because it's so broad. A dancer is going to obviously dance, or an theater actor is going to do theater. I don't really know what mine would be. That's why I always called it performance art. It included dance. It included choreography. It included interpretive dance. I sang. I have included my stilt walking while doing the performance. I've included FX theatrical makeup, which I would rip body parts off of myself. It required somebody who knew, just to tell the story. Obviously, it's metaphorical, but and then there'd be acting. Not too much. There would be some speech, maybe a small monologue in certain things, but most of the time it was led by music. So, and the music, during the music, it didn't really require dancing, but also, I guess, interpretive acting through it. It's kind of vague. You'd have to see some stuff, and I don't have a lot of things online from it. A handful, but not a lot.
Okay, fair enough. Do you miss it at all?
If I wasn't wrestling, absolutely. When I'm not doing something creative where I can exude an expression of who I am, then yeah, I get stifled feeling. But no, I don't really miss. I'm so into wrestling. I don't really miss anything else. I just want to focus on this wrestling. And I know that we can get into this later, but I know that I have so much more to offer than I've been able to offer in my matches so far. And I have so much more to show the fans and even my opponents and other wrestlers about what I can do in the ring. I just haven't been able to get there yet, but we can talk about that later.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, so wrestling has pretty much filled the artistic void at this point, so you're good with that. When did you officially step foot in the ring as a pro?
Officially, it was February of 2016.
Okay, so
not even 2 years ago.
But well, you gotta have that start. You might feel a little fresh in it right now, but technically, 2 years you can get a lot done inside of 2 years. I think I've seen some people start spreading their wings and doing WWE tryouts in 2 years' time. So you could be right up there with them. Who knows?
Absolutely. I mean, so much can happen in a small amount of time, especially if you put yourself out there and you're trying hard. Everyone says everything happens for a reason, but only if you're giving it 100%. The right things will happen at the right time, only if you're trying. So if you're putting out that effort, you're going to reap some opportunities. And I did have a WWE tryout, and I have been flown to foreign countries to wrestle and paid, and I have wrestled in quite a bit of states. So, I mean, that I had 3 goals when I started wrestling, and traveling was one of them. So that's been somewhat fulfilled. I obviously would like to travel more and be able to wrestle.
Well,
But,
you've done it, so you checking. You can at least put a half check on that. You've begun traveling.
Yeah, definitely, because there's still 38 other states that I have to wrestle in.
38 other states. Okay, now this is where I'm going to start to grill you a little bit. Is one of those states Georgia?
I still need to wrestle in Georgia, yes.
So you haven't been down here yet. What's stopping you?
Not for wrestling. I have not wrestled there, no.
What's stopping you? Why haven't you been here?
I have been there a few times, but I've never wrestled there.
To wrestle. Why haven't you been here to
Because nobody's booked me. But here's the thing. I'm like I said, I'm fairly new. If I reached out, I could possibly find someone interested, a promotion interested. And I think that especially with Aero Club, they would find it beneficial to have us there, because there's nothing like us right now. And we have support from other former wrestlers who are native, but Aero Club is a faction, and we're like a contemporary native. We're not doing this traditional stuff, and we're all really Indians. So I think that Georgia would be into that. I think any state would be.
Yeah, absolutely. But I always have to put forth getting new talents out to my neck of the woods. So for those promoters that are listening that are near me, hint, hint. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Yeah, I like that. We can make it a weekend.
There you go. There you go.
Make a weekend out of it.
So you're already pretty well traveled as it is. So why not?
Yes, why not?
Let's get Atlanta, Georgia checked off on your on that list.
Yes. You know what? I love Atlanta. Last time I was there was around Halloween, and I went to the best Halloween haunted house. I went to the best haunted houses ever. There.
You went to Netherworld?
Is that the 8-story one where they say people can't make it to the 8th level?
No. Netherworld is the one that's listed in I forget what magazine or online site it is, but for a few years it was rated like the #1 haunted house in America, but it's always ranked in the top 10.
Okay, so I went to 3. I can't remember. That sounds familiar, but all I know is all of them were amazing. One was a small house, and each room had like a stage set up, and you would go in there with a small group, and they would perform these horrific, scary acts. Like,
oh my gosh,
just weirdness, yeah. And you couldn't leave the room. So, and then, it was really awesome. Then one was an actual house, and then one was like one of those old stores that they turn into maze-like.
Oh, you was going through. You was really having a tour of haunted houses then.
Oh yeah, I was with a friend who lived in Smyrna.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I think you might have did the zombie maze or something like that. I know that was out here too.
Yeah. All I know is it was awesome, and I love Atlanta just for that.
Well, free plug for those haunted houses. I mean, it's a shame that I didn't catch it before Halloween, because that would have been great to plug them right then.
Yeah. Oh, what? There was a flood?
No, I say it would have been great to plug them before then.
No yeah.
Flood. No flood, no natural disasters. Nothing happened out here just yet. Knock on wood. I don't want to jinx the situation.
Yeah, I was way off. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
And then the other place I went to was not a haunted house, but it was called the Cheetah. That was fun. I enjoyed myself.
I'm not sure if I want to explain what the Cheetah is for people right now.
You don't have to go into it.
I'll just put it this way. Kevin Nash was a bouncer there a couple of years ago before he began wrestling, and many of the WCW boys enjoyed frequenting the Cheetah back in their day. So for those that don't understand, you can put the dots together and kind of figure that out. So that's there we go. I hope you had a good time.
I definitely did. And I think anybody would, and if they don't, they're crazy.
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting that. So, and there's no real way that I can transition off of that easy, so I'm just going to say, back to wrestling. For those of the people out there that are unfamiliar with the persona of Desi DeRata, explain who she is.
Sure. Desi DeRata. The name is a name I came up with. A lot of people assume that it has like a Spanish accent to it, DeRata. And I guess if you were to separate that word, it would actually say the rat. Fortunately, it's not a Spanish word. It's just a word that if you put it together, it's an actual word, and you can look it up in the dictionary or Google it. So the name doesn't have anything to do with my character, except that there's a meaning of the word that applies to my character. And one of those words is desire. The meaning. So, you can interpret that how you want, as far as the word desire applying to me once I describe my persona. So, when I first started wrestling, I didn't want to have my quote gimmick be this Native American character. Like, I am really Native American. Why would I want to? I thought that I would have to be really careful and not. What word am I? I'm looking for the word exploit my culture. Not that I thought any other Native wrestlers did. I never felt offended or turned away by other Native wrestlers, but I just didn't feel comfortable with it. So I kind of included a little bit of that influence, like I said, I grew up in the mountains and I love nature, and I have a connection, we all do, but I really hone into my connection with the universe, and my character kind of was evolving, but then Aero Club contacted me and said that, hey, relative, you're Indian, so are we, let's wrestle together. And I'm like, I'm not so sure about that. I don't know how I feel. Let me ask my family and my elders. And the rest is history, honestly, because when I finally met up with the Aero Club, I was like, this is my family. This is what I'm talking about. This isn't me dressed up as like Pocahontas and doing like a little, rain dance and looking sexy and brown. This is what we've been fighting for. And what's interesting is right before I got together with Aero Club, I had just come back from Standing Rock. I don't know if you remember the pipeline protest.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was all righteous in the Native.
You was ready.
Revolt. Yeah, and so it was like perfect timing. And so when I saw what they were doing and what they were exemplifying, I was like, I was in. And when we're together, I could feel that, like, we're related and we're supportive of each other. As much as we can annoy one another, that's what family does. So I just knew that that's where I was going to go. I knew that was the route I was going to go, because someone's like, if anybody's going to represent the indigenous cultures, why wouldn't it be someone who's indigenous? Why not? Why shouldn't it be you? And once I accepted that, I felt more like myself in the ring as that, being able to share that. So I feel like we're always the bad guys, and we're the bad guys because we have something to prove. So much wrong has been done to us throughout the years, and everybody's aware of it. And I'm not trying to ignore that it hasn't happened to other races and cultures, because it absolutely has, and I'm sensitive to that. But I'm not those other races and cultures. I'm mine, so I'm going to try to teach about mine and stand up for mine, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're about. So we're trying to shed light on that. And sometimes you have to force those things. One of our mottos is like taking back what's ours. And it's not so much literally, it's not taking back the land that we want or that was taken from us. It's more like just taking back our pride that you stripped us of, and our culture and our traditions. Back when, our great grandmother was sent to boarding school and told never to speak her language again. And that's who I am. So we're, angry. I'm angry about it. But I tell the little girls when they come up to me at the end of the show, I said, look, I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a bad person, but I sometimes might have to do the wrong thing for the right reason. And that's kind of where my character is, where I am, because that's me.
All right.
And, if it requires having to do certain things in the match to prove our worth, then we might have to just do what we got to do.
Now, let me ask you this, because you bring up a real interesting thing that I don't want to say that I've dealt with, but as the videographer and I guess the interviewer and things of that nature, I noticed that there are certain wrestlers that, depending on where they are, that alone will determine whether you're babyface or heel. All right?
Yes.
Do you find that you are more often than not heel, or is this like, okay, if I go into promotion A, I get cheered like crazy. I go to promotion B, they hate me, or something along those lines. Do you find that happens to you often, or are you just exclusively like, I'm the bad guy here?
No, I'm never exclusively anything. It's definitely, it depends on if my opponent's got a reputation.
Okay.
of being the heel or not. Mostly that, but there's often times that I am baby, and I think a lot of places I go want to cheer for me, and I don't know if it's because maybe they know my story, but I feel like they haven't seen someone that has that, like, I don't know, that kind of what I just explained to you. I don't think any other wrestlers ever talked about things like that. So maybe they're starting to catch on, and I noticed that in Oklahoma especially, Aero Club was always heel. And when I came on, they would just boo the shit out of me and us, and we loved it, and they'd flip us off. And especially recently, my brothers have been feuding with the Von Erich boys, the Sons.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody loves the Von Erich, so of course they're going to hate us. Yeah, and that's great because we don't care. That's the other thing about my persona is I don't care if you like me or if you don't. I'm going to do what I've got to do, and I know what I need to do. I'm going to win, and I'm going to continue on with my path here, trying to tell the story of the truth. So, however, Oklahoma started kind of, I don't know what happened, but it's been almost a year now, and we went all this year with them booing the hell out of us. And then we were at Oklahomania about a month ago. It was a huge show. Sting was there. Oh my gosh, there's so many big names I can't even list them. But Oklahomania 2 was the second one. They did such a good job. I was so honored to be part of it. IWR put it on. And so when I came out, usually I'm already hated because they know me. I mean, I've done at least a show every month for them where they have gotten to know me and Aero Club, and they love to hate us. But for some reason, as soon as I came out, they were cheering for ever. I was like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, shut up. Shut up. I didn't really tell them to shut up, but because
it wasn't the response you were expecting. Is that
no,
safe to say?
not at all.
But
I did tell them that I don't need their support, and I don't know what they're doing, and I told them to stop being fake. I'm like, what, all of a sudden you like me now? So
did you turn it around?
I don't know why. But the following weekend was another Oklahoma show, and it was kind of 50-50. So I don't know. We'll see. Oh, no, we're in Kansas this weekend, but IWR is the same promotion, so we'll see how the fans are.
Well, you know how that goes. You know, that whole, you go heel long enough, it will eventually evolve into baby. That's just the way that it goes. I mean, you start to get a certain amount of respect that is kind of attached to you, despite all of your antics and cussing people out and so on and so forth. But it's interesting to hear that because it's very few people that I know of that just based on the gimmick alone. I mean, forget coming out there and trying to get heat. Forget that. Just based on the second I walk through these curtains, they've already made up their mind that I either love you or hate you. Which is a little unfair, but I think of yourself. I think of Beatrice Domino. I think of Jezebel Smothers. Just on the look alone with you three ladies will determine, depending on where you're wrestling, whether you get cheered or booed.
Right.
You drop Jezebel Smothers in rural Georgia, in anywhere outside of the city, and she puts on her Stars and Bars shirt, she's gonna get cheered. But she can't do that within a large city. They will boo the hell out of her. Yeah.
You can't do that within a what city?
A large city, in a metro, in any major cities, you couldn't drop her in that wearing that shirt and expect her to get cheered.
Yeah. See, I'm not familiar with her, so I'm looking her up.
Well, and okay, now you have to check. See, she goes in WoW, which is out your way, Women of Wrestling. She works under Jesse Jones, which they took all of that stuff away from her and just basically made her a country girl. With Jesse Bell Smothers, which is where I'm located, and of course, free plug for me. If you go to the Women's Pro Wrestling Network on YouTube, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, folks, now's a good time to do it. As you're listening to this podcast, you just open up another tab and click. There you go. But if you want to see her at her worst, go and look at her in one of those earlier matches. She came out in her Confederate flag shirt, and she was supposed to be the heel, but they booked that match in the wrong place, and they just was cheering. They cheered her, and she had to work hard to get that crowd turn. She had to work
Yeah.
to get them to start to boo her, and by the time she got to the end of the match, she did get people to boo her, but it took effort for her to do that.
Yes. Okay. And that's the thing is I kind of got in trouble because I didn't get them to boo me, and I was like, I never had to. I never tried to get people to like me. I never tried to get people to hate me. Like I said, I just do what I do. But yeah, I needed to work harder and get that. So I'm gonna have to check out her stuff. I recognize her now from WoW, but I didn't recognize the name.
Well, yeah, see now here again, it's a free plug for the channel. Yeah, I love that you're asking this stuff because I get to put myself over or the channel over without sounding like I'm selling it. So, but see, I have matches with Jessie Bell Smothers before she was at WoW. I had the matches with her in the No Holds Barred tag team match going on. I got the match with her at the Steel Cage. I got the match with her versus Mickey Knuckles. So we got a good selection of stuff with her there, and you can see her. And you can see that little transition. She doesn't really do the Confederate gimmick all that much anymore. She's the bad girl, Jessie Bell Smothers now. So she's kind of evolved out of that. But at that time, that was the wrong place. And this is hindsight booking here, but that was the wrong place to try to stick her and try to make her the heel. That's
Yeah.
what I was going at. Everybody out there, out in the backwoods of Georgia, they wanted her to win. That's all they were looking for. They saw that shirt and they was So
They love it. Yeah, that's like kind of all certain places need. If you I don't know if you're from Maine and you go to LA for a booking and you wear a Dodgers shirt, they're gonna love you.
No, see, there you go. You understand.
Yeah.
And I would imagine.
I get it.
I don't know if Beatrice is still active right now or not. The last I saw her, Facebook was gone, so I can only assume no. But Domino, I mean, just with her whole gimmick when she came out, I would imagine if she's in the wrong place, that would get her some heat.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I'm curious. When's the last time did you have an interview with her? I haven't heard from her in a year almost.
Beatrice.
Yeah.
I have not. The last time I spoke with her, she contacted me and asked me to put a profile. Would you mind putting a profile up on your website? I'm like, sure. There's no problem. So and that was it. And I think I gone on the Facebook to go through some of the messages, and I saw that particular one. But when people drop their Facebook, the profile drops. So I could read the message, and I was like, oh man, she just disappeared.
Yeah.
And I was a little curious about that. I was wondering where she went.
Me too, because I felt like she had a lot of potential. She was big and strong, and her character was strong because it came from her heart. It came from her real self. And I just was waiting to see her grow. And gosh, I don't know. She literally it seemed like she disappeared.
See, now imagine Domino and the DeRata together as a tag team.
I know.
How
we
awesome
have a
would
lot
that
to do.
So the revolution. See, I could have just came out as that.
Yeah. Yeah, we could totally have that revolution. We have a lot of parallel stories, history.
That's right. Damn. Why didn't I have somebody to book that? Anyway, I am going to assume, as the artist that you are, that you're responsible for your own makeup.
Yes, I am.
Say that easy. It's good work. If you haven't looked at it,
Thanks.
folks, go to her Facebook page and just scroll through a couple of pictures. Do not be no perv and start looking at the other stuff on there. Just the paint, I'm saying, and the t-shirt and the wrestling gear. That's all I'm telling you to do. Okay. So that's just from me to you, the fans. Just take a look at the art that she has created.
Well, I appreciate that, but if you want a perv or not, well, it doesn't bother me because I won't know.
Okay, well, then in that case, I guess she's giving you the green light of some sort. I don't know.
Just don't let me know. Don't message me. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, I guess that'll be the little disturbing. Guess what I'm doing now? You don't want that. No. Love will tear us apart. What does that mean?
What does it mean to you?
I don't know. I've never known love to tear people apart. Well, I don't know. I guess love could do it. But good question.
Well,
I never had somebody throw it back on me. Let me see. What would that mean to me? And by the way, for those that are wondering why that random question came out, I saw a picture of hers that had the tattoo that read, "Love will tear us apart." And it seemed like a pretty random statement to put on yourself, but I wanted to know what it meant. So, but as far as what it means to me, I guess, given the extremes that you are in love with someone or something, it could push you to the limit. But that's my quick interpretation. I haven't given it a lot of thought. So please tell me.
Well, I think the quick interpretation is the most real because, I mean, it's the one that comes off at the top of your head is probably the one that you would feel the most. And that's where the tattoo has kind of settled in as having its purpose. It's simply a song I really liked with the same title, but maybe I was a little young when I got it. But I did notice that throughout the years, it didn't have the same meaning. And when people would read it and ask me about it, they all had a different interpretation of it. None of them were usually positive, but here and there they would be. Like, your interpretation wasn't necessarily negative, but it was, it's true. Love in all its glory can be so devastating. Yes. So take the good with the bad. But yeah, like I said, it's just a song. Where it stands right now, so love will tear us apart. I mean, I don't know. Love will tear you apart because it makes you crazy and you just pull your hair out because you're in love. Or one guy told me he was in a great relationship and then he loved his partner, his girlfriend, but he had a love for doing something else and doing that other thing tore him apart from her. So this love for the other thing tore him away from his obligation. That's how he described it. And then, one person said love will tear you apart to itty bitty pieces so that you can rebuild yourself. Yeah, so I thought that was pretty deep. For me, yeah, like I said, simply a song. But if I had to tell someone what I thought it meant, I would think that love, when you find it, will tear you apart from all the bullshit you used to think was important, and it will instead open your eyes to what actually is. So, since you asked.
Fair enough. You have a more positive interpretation of that than
just these days.
Most. These days, okay. So it kind of changes as the years go by.
Yeah. I liked the song so much because it's so gloomy, and I don't know if that's the artist in me, but I really have had times in my life where I've dwelled in the sadness and the gloom, and honestly, the times where I was the most sad, I was the most creative and most productive in being creative. I came up with my best performances and I gave my best performances, letting my heart bleed. You know, it's just so much easier to do when you're sad. My poetry was way more moving when I was sadder. So I don't know. That's just how life is. You have your ups and your downs, and you have to take it as it comes. And right now I'm pretty happy. So I feel like I'm pretty boring.
Well, you need to get depressed then. No, that's not saying.
I know.
No, no,
It's
no.
true.
Artists are notoriously narcissistic, depressive, if that's such a thing. But yes,
It's true. It's true.
you can believe that you're the greatest thing that ever happened since sliced bread. But the second something goes wrong, I knew it was terrible. Why did I think this was going to work? So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way
Yeah.
it goes.
So dramatic. Definitely.
That's right. Art and Fear, kids. It's the name of a book. Go look it up.
Art and Fear?
Art and Fear tells you
Oh,
everything
okay.
that you are going to go through as an artist. That the things that you're going to feel to yourself as you do your work. I'm terrible.
Wow.
Nobody's ever going to buy this. Nobody's ever going to believe in it. I'm no good. Blah blah blah. You know,
Yeah.
it is the fear that you go through. I give you the full title a little bit later. See if you
I
really.
can't, yeah, I do. I can't wait. That's like exactly what I need.
Well, see,
I
this interview was
don't
just
forget.
on time. It was just on time for you.
See, and life does it just like that. Perfect timing. So actually, as I said, I am pretty happy, not so sad like I've been in previous years. But now that you mentioned that, this year has been kind of hard on me because I have not wanted to quit wrestling. I just started, but I have had so many doubts thinking, what am I doing? This is ridiculous. I'm not getting any better. Maybe I'm just not good at this. So totally, I've had those thoughts, and I know I can't be the only one. I'm not even 2 years in, you know? So it's like,
course
why
you're
would I
not
be
the
so
only
hard on
one.
myself?
Of course you're not. Now, see, this is the point of the conversation that we're talking to the would-be wrestler. We're talking to maybe somebody that's not even going into wrestling, but we're talking to maybe the would-be filmmaker, the would-be cartoonist, the would-be performance artist. So, you know, for those of you out there, I mean, just hearing you say that, understand that you're not alone in what you're doing. It is a natural progression if you as an artist, and art covers a lot of ground. And
Mm.
I actually heard that from listening to gosh, now I'm gonna draw a blank on the filmmaker. What's his name? El Mariachi, Desperado, Spy Kids.
Clinton?
No,
Oh,
close, you're
Robert,
close. Robert Rodriguez.
Robert Rodriguez.
Yes, there you go. He said it in an interview, and I looked it up after that. Which reminds me,
Oh,
I
cool.
have to go look at Dust Till Dawn. Anyway,
Uh,
yeah, I'm rambling now. I'm all over the place. Yeah,
No, you have to give me all these little tidbits of information so that I could look them up afterwards.
well, then I will do that. I will make sure that I hand that over to you.
Okay.
Just remind me. Make sure I don't forget. Okay. Some portion of you, the actress part of you, showed up on WWE television. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, that is correct. That's another, one of my other goals,
That
as I was saying,
that's a big
utilize
check.
wrestling in order to travel. And the other one was to be on television or get television or movie roles because of wrestling, which I've done both. And one of them, 2 times, was for SmackDown. Although I was on set, cast as an extra for Raw and No Mercy as well, a few other times. Only 2 times I got screen time on SmackDown.
And you were cast as a role of attractive woman by Dolph Ziggler.
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah.
Did they give you a name, or was you just an attractive woman?
I think they dubbed me Barefoot Girl.
Really? Well,
Because,
we
okay,
can't see that, but okay.
well, Dolph isn't that tall, and I was wearing high heels, so
Ah,
the producer told me to just take my shoes off, and he said, "No, we're not going to see your feet if the camera's on you. Just, take your shoes off." So I did, and then the cameraman panned down and saw my bare feet, and there were a couple things online about why is there a woman walking backstage with no shoes, and it was just kind of a bunch of fans would have noticed, but the general public wouldn't.
I see.
But yeah, barefoot girl.
Barefoot girl. So apparently, Dolph, you would have been towering over Dolph if you had the high heels on. Is that the idea that I get?
Yes, and that's what Dolph said. He said, "I can't have you looking bigger and stronger than me."
Well, that's apparently the comedian in him talking, which I'm
Well,
not
he
even.
was pretty funny.
Which I'm not even sure if he still does stand up anymore, but yeah, I know that he did it. So first, how was that experience when you landed television with the WWE, which I know is probably a little bit different than doing like a indie movie role or something like that. So how did you feel going there? How did it work out for you? How did things feel to you?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different than being on a movie set or even television set. It's like being at a live wrestling show. It just happens to be a huge wrestling show with a lot more people, and then more professional cameramen backstage. So it doesn't really feel like a set or production per se. Just like not a TV production, at least. It really feels like a show, and that's where it started. So I guess it would have to still be what it started as. That was my second time being on SmackDown. The first time was when Dean Ambrose guest refereed AJ Styles and what's his name?
Ellsworth's
match. Yeah, see, I just drew blank. So there was a girl wearing a red dress that Dean signed and a picture for. Oh, she took a selfie with him, and AJ came and smacked her picture out of her hand. Anyway, that was me. And I got to tell Dean that it was time to go home, because the producer came and said, when Dean comes here, tell him to go home. So I thought that was pretty cool. That was actually part of their match, because I had to let him know.
Gave him the cue.
Yep. That was probably, and that was more exciting than just like standing on screen with anybody, just because it was part of a match. And more than anything, obviously, I'd want to have a match, but I thought it was really cool to be there. I didn't feel nervous or scared. It felt, each time I'm there, it feels natural. It feels cool to hang out and catering and talk. To talk with everybody, all the wrestlers, all the roster from Raw and SmackDown. They're super nice. They're super friendly. They're not overly friendly, and you just be yourself and engage with them. So I think that if I was a fan for years, like if I had been a fan since I was little, like I was saying, I definitely would mark out a lot more. But I think that because I'm not, it has helped me. So I don't have to look like a stargazed fool.
So you weren't caught up in the moment like as some people might be. That's
Exactly.
A fair way to put that. So how did you land the gig? Was this just, hey, your promoter, not your promoter, your trainer? Because most times when I hear that, it's somebody that has connections like, hey, they're coming to town. How would you like to be on TV, or come with me backstage or something like that? Was it happenstance? Did you actively seek this? How did you come across that?
Well, normally how they get people is most wrestlers go onto the WWE website and have a recruit profile, hoping that, with the information that they have on there and that they keep updating, WWE will notice and eventually ask you for a tryout and have interest in you. But I didn't get that recruit profile. Another wrestler gave me their talent, the head of their talent department email, and I'm sure he gets a gazillion emails. So I was really lucky when he read mine and responded back the first time. I think that was the first time was when I had the Dean Ambrose spot. So ever since then, whenever they're in the area, I'll email him, and yeah, each time they came back, I was on there. So they know my name at least, and they know that I did a tryout. So I have a little line of communication with them.
Nice. So this line of communication, would you say that you were put over as a wrestler or an actress? Which way did they recognize you?
Nobody knows I'm an actress in wrestling world.
Okay.
For the most part. Yeah,
okay.
That's I don't know how you knew, but
because
some people
I do
might
research.
find out. You sure do, and you said that you do. You probably do a little more than most. So
I try. It's the effort that goes into trying to come up with interesting questions that aren't the same thing over and over and over again.
Thank you, because it's fun for me to answer new questions and stuff. I did occasionally, like I put on my Facebook, my IMDb page that has all my credits from their independent films that I've done, or low budget films that I've done, and I don't usually share that information just because it's my real name. Actually, I think I posted it for a little bit, and then I turned it on private.
Well, all I can say is
just to spark some interest.
Just be happy of the stuff that you have. You know, low budget is probably a couple thousand more than what I've been able to produce, which is just no budget at all. So these are.
Oh yeah, 50. They consider 50 grand a low budget. So.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you know what movie I could make for 50 grand right now?
For real, I feel like I can make it award-winning. Gosh, 50 grand. I mean, I've seen my friends in college going to film school make an awesome art film. Maybe they don't have as many special effects, but you can do that in post and for what, a couple $100.
Oh yeah.
Maybe the actors aren't the greatest, but you never know. Everybody's got to start somewhere. Maybe the actors are the greatest because they're up and coming.
I'm sure that I can find some actors that can do the job for $100 a day or something like that, or less. I found them for free, but that's not there. So
No, and actors will do it if they believe in the producer and director's story, and especially if you're going to do something with it, like submit it to film festivals, or if you already have some kind of credibility.
Exactly. It does help. Let's see, you have exposed the other half of the other side of your personality as an actress, but we won't keep going back into that because you're a wrestler, and that's the important thing here, that you are a wrestler. We're gonna talk the times that you beat up on people and out wrestle them in the ring and whatnot, as I did catch one match of yours with you. Well, actually, I caught a few, but one that stands out, I should say, because I know or have a match of hers on my channel, Devin Nicole. So that was fun to watch.
Who, Nicole?
Devin Nicole.
Oh, I like that lady. She's really cool. Yeah. That's right. She came out to California, and what I like about her is she's also a larger wrestler for a girl. I mean, I think we were almost exact to the pound, height and weight. So it was, for me, it's just really nice to feel like I have someone to go against that's really going to be challenging, other than me just trying to throw around all the time. And yeah, that was fun. That was a while ago, and I think that both of our skills have probably progressed since then, but the match was still a lot of fun. Told the story for sure.
Well, I think she's on a bit of a hiatus these days, though, as I believe she's expecting. So, perhaps wrestling will be on the sidelines for the time being. So
I didn't know that. I'm going to have to contact her. Her husband was at the same tryout that I was in.
Raphael King.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, see? And yeah, I try to stay in the loop on some of this stuff as
Yeah.
best I can. So, but you've got quite the list of people that you've gone at: Shotzi Blackheart, Delilah Doom, Holiday, Nicole Savoy, Thunder Rosa. These are all names that you've been in the ring with inside of your 2-year run, just to name a few. Is there anyone else on your personal dance card that you are waiting to, like, okay, this person's on my checklist, this person's on my checklist, so on and so forth?
Yeah. And not every interview says that, but a lot of people ask me. I don't know why, but I don't have any particular preferences.
Okay.
I would like to work anybody that's bigger than me. I enjoyed working Ruby Reyes. She's not that much bigger than me, but she's, I can't do my usual.
But enough.
Power. Huh?
I said, but she's big enough. She's not that much bigger than you, but she's big enough. Have you been in the ring with Dimensional Rose?
No, I have not. I would like to work her for sure. But dude, like, that's the thing. I don't think there'd be anybody I wouldn't want to, But there's also nobody specifically. And I've been asked this so many times. Maybe I should just try to figure it out. But
yes, you have to.
Seems like I shouldn't have to
just
seek
make
it.
up somebody.
Yeah, I know. So it seems like I shouldn't have to seek it out. If I saw somebody and felt that way, then it would be there. But I haven't really felt that way.
Well, hey, your stock and trade answer. I'll take on anybody. See,
I would take on anybody.
See, there you go. Now, see, that answers that, and it moves the question along. I'll take on anybody. Boom, next. So,
gotcha.
See, now we've progressed, and so next time you get somebody to ask you these questions in your next interview, you know what to toss down. That is your next ace.
I know, but you broke me down by asking more serious questions, and so I'm getting all sentimental here, trying to get the inside of Desi DeRata, making me vulnerable.
Well, if I was there, I would be chopping onions as I'm asking these questions, so that I can get tears while I'm doing it. So that always comes across better on camera when they can get some tears to flow. Yeah. So I'm just saying.
I can make tears without onions.
Considering your line of work, I'm pretty sure that you could. So when I do have a budget and I do have some money, I'm going to say, you know what, I know who to call. Desi.
Yeah.
She can act.
That's right.
How accomplished a mixed martial artist are you?
As far as mixed martial arts, I feel like I'm brand new, and I am. But for some reason, I took a very quick liking to it, and my natural ability for it was super fast in my learning curve. I only tried to learn MMA and jiu-jitsu so that I could enhance my pro wrestling skills. I never thought that I was going to be fighting in a cage like I will be for my second time in a month.
Okay, so have you thought that it may come down to, you know what, I got to make a choice here. Is it going to be mixed martial arts or is it going to be pro wrestling?
I've never felt like I've had to choose because it's always pro wrestling.
Okay, so as it stands right now, pro wrestling is the front runner. Now, I would be remiss if I did not bring this up because I'm sure that anybody that has followed you as a fan is going to hit me with the question, why didn't you ask her? So I'm going to bring up the LFC, which for those who are not aware, that is the Lingere Fighting Championships. How did you come across this promotion? Let's start with that.
So the Lingere Fighting Championships is a reality television show about female fighters who fight in the cage and have various backgrounds of fighting styles, but they wear lingerie.
Okay.
And They scouted me out because of the pro wrestling. Actually, one of the producers' wives is a pro wrestler.
Okay.
So I don't think that they're involved anymore. I think that they were just helping with the recruiting. They also preferred females, even if they didn't have fighting experience, they had some kind of athletic experience, and that they were going to train them. And obviously, with acting experience was really helpful, just because you're going to be in front of a TV or a camera.
Okay.
And so that was at the very beginning of my pro wrestling, the very, very beginning. And yeah, that's why I decided to go to a gym and start learning some stuff, so I could actually know what to do. Because I can't just go in the cage. Well, I can, because I have been. Go in the cage and throw girls around, body slam them. But I did do that for LSD.
Okay. So, just based on what you were describing right there, I'm going to say it without insulting the promotion. It sounds as if it is a bit more show than it is legit competition, I guess. Is that a fair assessment? I mean, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly.
I think half of that is fair to say, because it still is legit competition.
Mm-hmm.
But they still want that show element, and they still want the girls not to just, like we were saying about sports earlier, when you're doing your sports, you're just focused on what it takes to win.
Yes.
I think they want the fighters to know that, when we're backstage, this is still a story. Your life is still being recorded. This is a reality show. So it's not just about the fight and the win. This is your whole persona, your character, before you get into that cage. So that's where the showiness comes from. And obviously anybody wearing lingerie is going to be a spectacle too. So yeah, definitely more showiness. Yeah, but not legit. However, it's not like in California. You to be a fighter in California, you have to have a certain profile, your blood work done, and your tests. But for the LFC, they're out of Canada. They don't have any sanctioned state or rules. And one of the rules they do have that a regular MMA company promotion would have is that the girls are not allowed to punch in the face while standing.
Okay.
So other than that, it's still have at it, and the girls have at it. Like I said, they come from different backgrounds, though, so their fights might be different. Like my fight isn't going to be like a CrossFitter's fight, but everybody trains, and who knows what they pick up on training. Like some girls might just want to be good at kicking, or some girls are grapplers. It can vary. So that's the thing that you get girls with various backgrounds. Whereas if you go to like a real MMA, I don't want to say real as if that's not, but a non-reality TV show MMA fight, the girls probably trained for years in everything.
Okay. So I'm gonna do this comparatively speaking, because as you're describing this, it sounds to me very much like, and I'm gonna just go ahead and put my disclaimer out. I'm not saying anything disparaging about this promotion, but it's the closest thing I can think of. It sounds to me very much like WOW, the Women of Wrestling promotion, which is out in your coast, also is out in LA. Whereas you're not that familiar with it.
I'm not as familiar with WOW, except because I haven't really watched the matches, and I only know some of the wrestlers. I actually wrestled Chloe, the girl that goes by Chloe. I wrestled Katie Forbes recently.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that's definitely more of a televised TV show, because one of the girls told me she said she just barely started learning how to wrestle. I was like, you're already wrestling for WoW, and you just started learning? She's like, I'm just a superhero. As long as I'm being the superhero, I could do anything in the ring. And I'm like, I guess that makes sense. I guess you don't really have to go through all these drills and trainings. In my mind, I do, because that comes from my sports background, that I need to practice and train and practice and train. But yeah, I guess WoW isn't quite like that.
No.
I would say, as far as the entertainment, the TV show element of it, it probably is similar to LFC. But I know that the girls train for LFC. I know I do. And that's what got me into doing these other California sanctioned fights and other bigger promotions, like King of the Cage was my first fight, and they're a nationwide legitimate fighting company. I mean, they're like right below Bellator.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So that would make them like the number 3 promotion in the world. That's a big deal.
Well, yeah, they're up there for sure.
UFC being the top dog, Bellator is a close number 2, and if they're underneath Bellator, then yeah, I would say that would make them the number 3 promotion on the planet. So that's big. But
there might be some in between, but I do know Invicta and Bellator look at their fighters for sure.
Well, and getting back, and I know, well, first I know that there's several people here who are interested in the whole backstage goings of WoW and stuff like that, even if it was them talking about it from 10 years ago. And let me just plug this now, that there are several interviews with several young ladies who have talked about it. Probably the most in-depth version of that would be Riot. Jacqueline Hyde is also a good one. But again, just basing it on what you have talked about with the LFC, that, hey, we'll take you in from this background, but we'll train you and we'll teach you how to fight. WoW is
exactly
very much like that. where with the exception of the girls who have come directly from a wrestling background, like you said, Katie Forbes, she comes from that. Jessie Bell comes from a wrestling background. Barbie Hayden, which I think you actually have a match with coming up, or something along those lines. Yeah,
Saturday, January.
Saturday. See, there we go. So they do have their girls that are in there that have wrestling backgrounds, but then you have those who, as you would describe with the LFC, probably did not, and maybe had 6 months worth of time before they were put onto a national television spot to work a match. How much training time did LFC offer up? Like I said, I know WoW was anywhere between 6 to 9 months. I know they did at least in this original incarnation, they did like a summer and then some, and they continued on, but they really got kind of thrust into the spotlight well before they were, in my opinion, let me say, prepared to do. How much time did LFC offer up before you were put into a cage?
Oh, I had already started. No, well, they didn't offer any training unless we were going to be in Las Vegas, which is where they're out of.
Okay.
If I'm remembering my timeline correctly, they had asked me if I was interested, and I only had maybe a couple months to prepare for it. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I went into they said with my pro wrestling background, I should be fine because there's no, stand-up striking. And with, pro wrestling, I should have some moves according to them. So that's why I took it upon myself to go to my own training and learn on my own up here in Northern California at a gym that I'm still at. And because of that gym, I got more into competitions of jiu-jitsu and California sanctioned cage fights. So, yeah, I mean, their live events, LSD's live events, are very spread out. So if they've contacted a girl, the girl might have quite some time to prepare. And girls like us that have been around since the beginning of the show, we should always be prepared.
Okay. So you are still associated with the promotion even today.
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
I mean, it's like any other promotion. If they want to book you, they'll book you.
yes.
But it doesn't mean that you're not going to be involved in it. I mean, we still have a storyline, and the TV show is still being aired. And I think that the last time I was on set filming with them, I don't think that that's aired yet.
Okay.
So, not the last time. But I've done 3 with them otherwise.
Okay.
Or 2.
All right. So, end result there, and again, I say this just to kind of keep it relative to wrestling, so listeners can kind of follow along with that. It is a television show. There's a storyline. The fights may be legitimate, but they are kind of constructing this story for the fans to make it more palatable, I guess, to the casual fan. That sound reasonable?
Yeah. I mean, it's a reality TV show that they've gotten ladies who would be interested in learning how to fight and doing a fight. And they book them for these events, and they film behind the scenes the day before and the day of the events. And obviously the event is live at casinos. And, yeah, then they edit it and put it on the TV.
Are you responsible for your wardrobe, or do they say, hey, put this on?
We can choose what we'd like, because I don't think anybody's going to tell any of us what we should be wearing when it comes to lingerie. We're very picky about what our bodies are going to look good in.
Well, I don't know. Some promoters are, and you probably know this as well as anybody, having, already existed in that world. So some promoters, or I shouldn't say promoters, producers. That's what I meant to say. Some producers and directors and whatnot are like, this is what I need. This is what you're gonna do. But you're saying that that's not what they do in their particular world. So that's good.
No, they're pretty open. They want us to be us. And that's where they're going to get the most genuine storylines from. So.
Now, with this experience that you have, and here's the big rope back around. You already talked to one of the girls that took place in WoW. You actually talked to 2. You wrestled one of the legit wrestlers, and you talked to one of the superheroes. Have you ever thought to reach out to WoW and perhaps join their roster? Because I would assume, just based on your what you've gone through with the LFC, you'd be a natural fit.
Well, thank you for saying that. Well, the LFC definitely caters to more of a mature audience.
Oh, definitely.
Whereas I think WoW, WoW is trying to do right.
Family
WoW
based.
is more for, yes, exactly. So, I mean, I could do either. I'm versatile, so I definitely could do either. The reason why I even was talking to the girl who told me about her training and her lack of training, but she was still on the show and she was a superhero, and that's really what WoW was about, was because I went to a movie audition that they were casting. They were looking for Native Americans, and she happened to be working at that casting agency. And so when she found out I was a wrestler, she's like, you need to be on WoW, you need to come, you need to do this. And she contacted the guy. I think his name's David. And anyhow, nothing ever came of it. But I think so, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Nothing ever came of it. But I feel like they were going through their, they were kind of revamping the whole show at the time. And I still hadn't even debuted. That's what I told her. I was like, I haven't even debuted. She's like, I just started. And I'm like, oh, this is crazy. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I took it a little more serious because I wouldn't want to go in without good experience. So nonetheless, that was like 2 years ago. Exactly 2 years ago.
All right. Well,
and,
they did a revamp since then.
Yeah, I noticed that. And so maybe now I would. So if you were to ask me if I could reach out to anybody, I would love to reach out to all promotions. Okay, but here's the thing. I have been So there hasn't been pro wrestling training where I live in the last year and a half. And so I've just been going to as many seminars as I can. I try to train what I can when I go to shows by working matches beforehand or rolling around in the ring before. And so that's why I got so heavy into my jiu-jitsu and my MMA stuff, because I didn't have anything else to train. So I started training there really hard. And earlier this year, I said, okay, I've been training so hard here because I don't have pro wrestling training. Why don't I see what I can do with what I've learned? And then that's when I decided to do the fight. And that's when I thought, for King of the Cage. And then I wanted to do it all in the name of pro wrestling, of course, because if there's no pro wrestling training, I'm not just going to sit around and twiddle my thumbs. So I just kept going, and I didn't feel satisfied with that fight because I knew I could have fought harder, and I don't want to come off sound cocky and saying that it was easy, because it wasn't. But I learned the mental game, and the girl got scared, and I felt like it didn't give me what I was looking for, so I signed up for another fight.
Okay.
And that's the one that's coming up. And it's not LFC, because you can punch each other in the face. You want to knock the other person out. You want to knock their head off. And that's what I'm looking for. But when I was training for the fight originally, it was going to be in September, I was sparring. I sparred with a girl in the UFC and a girl in Invicta. And then I went back to my gym and trained with a pro fighter guy and ended up busting my nose, broke my nose. I'm going on this tangent and telling you all this is because from that time, from the first fight to breaking my nose to that fight getting postponed to December, I had just been fight mode on my mind, and pro wrestling's kind of gotten pushed back to the back burner, and I'm really sad about it.
Oh.
And yeah, I'm really, really sad about it. But I know that when I make a move, because we're moving out of this town to a place where I'm going to have pro wrestling training and be able to train as often as I need to, and I will have gotten my second fight out of the way and been satisfied, then I know I could really use these skills that I learned this year from fighting and put them into my pro wrestling, and then train my pro wrestling and put it all together in this awesome package. And then when I get that, I'm going to reach out to everybody, because I will feel so confident in what I know I could do. Just remember earlier in the conversation I was saying that I still have so much more to offer, and just not quite there yet, because we're new. When you're new, you're just still growing. But I feel like with this experience that I've had from these fights, and then I can focus on pro wrestling afterwards, and I put it all in, it's going to be unstoppable. And so because of that, I'm going to reach out to everybody. My matches are going to get so much better, and I'm going to use those matches and send them out to other countries. I have already actually sent out my resume to a couple places. I don't remember where it was, but might have been Germany, and the gal was like, no offense, but we really only bring people over if they have a name or people know who they are. So I was like, well, I'll hit you up soon, lady. You just wait.
Well, I mean, that's fair. I mean, hopefully she didn't, come off like an asshole or nothing like that. But that's fair.
No.
I mean, and I understand that, especially if you
Totally, absolutely,
find somebody overseas.
Absolutely, I respect that too.
You want to make sure that they can draw money and all that good stuff. So that's a fair thing. But I just
she did compliment my my brooch though and my resume. She said this is the most professional thing I've ever seen. But
But unfortunately, we can't use you today.
Yeah, pretty much.
But
well, I think
no hard feelings though. That's the good thing.
No, totally.
But just because I can talk about this without without you having an attachment to the promotion and feeling bad, because I know that's happened with me on a couple of occasions. Just to put a bow on the WoW conversation there, I can totally understand why you would feel like I don't want to do that. But first off, your approach to pro wrestling opposed to, I'll say, half of the WoW roster today is probably a little bit different.
My approach?
Yeah, your approach,
Okay.
because you are looking at it as this is wrestling and I need to be good at it before I go step into the ring. I don't want to just step into
Yeah.
somebody's TV show and only have 2 months training and here I go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And nothing against them, because a lot of those girls had a lot. Well, I'm saying they had about 3 to 6 months worth of training, before they stepped into that. And for the TV show, that was fine because they were doing the TV show. The problem is that when they got the pay-per-view back in the day, that kind of turned around and bit them in the ass because no one could carry a match, which was unfortunate. And you probably had 1 or 2 girls that really excelled on that entire pay-per-view, but they weren't enough to carry it.
Right.
So I mean, so I say that to say you're probably doing a better service to yourself to take the path that you're taking, because if you should show up in WoW, you would be placed in the category of the girls who already have the training. You would be placed in the category of Chloe Hertz. I forget her indie working name, but you know who I'm talking about.
Katie Forbes.
There you go, Katie Forbes. I don't know why I keep forgetting Katie Forbes, but but you be placed in the category along with Katie Forbes and along with Barbie Hayden and along with Christina Von Eerie and Hudson Envy. You know, the girls who are working. And if you go onto their site, and I guess might as well give a free plug for them now, you'll see that a lot of that booking mentality has changed to where they have the girls who are probably a little less experienced paired off against the girls who are experienced, so that somebody can take charge here. So somebody can lead the match, and even if it's not the best match that the pro can do, it's going to be arguably the best match that the WoW girl can do, if that makes sense. The original WoW girl.
Yes, I can see that.
Except for Jungle Girl. I love Jungle Girl. I think she's
Yeah.
I will say I wish promotions would hire her, and she already told me that she's not doing it, but she's good. She's natural, and she did have indie training outside of WoW, so I do stick for her. So yeah, Jungle Girl, hire her. Anyway,
Jungle Girl. I did like her stuff that I saw. I like that barefoot. I just like it. I like that whole thing going on.
Yeah.
But I haven't gotten to see her work too much.
Yeah. Go watch her versus Tadavik the Gamer.
Okay.
Second match.
So see, things like that, you're going to have to write down for me. That and then the Robert Rodriguez quote.
Well, he was saying a book. So I got that already.
Oh, yeah, book.
Yeah, I already got that down for you, just ready to go. Now, I know you said that you don't have, you're still growing, you're still evolving as a pro wrestler and whatnot, but if you were to have a fan walk up to you right now and you were trying to say, okay, you need to understand how and what it is I do in the ring, you need to go watch this match. What match would you point them towards to give a accurate description of you as a worker? Today, at least.
Only one?
Only one. Has to be hard. If I said multiple, you might just give me your whole library. It got to be hard.
No, right. There's just two. Well, there's this one from 1 year ago with Shotzi Blackheart at Gold Rush. And I want to say that, yeah, even though I've evolved even since a year ago, I would still say that that's like top. I feel like Shotzi and I have chemistry. The only reason why I wouldn't want to show that match is because I was not in as good a shape as I am now. But
I'm gonna bet that it's probably not nearly as bad as what you think. But go ahead.
Yeah, I know, probably not, because whatever. But I just this morning saw that they posted a match from a couple months ago, and I had never seen it. It's been a couple months and I've not yet seen it, just because it's for Wildcats. And all I know is when I was working that match with Ruby Reyes was that I felt like I was really fighting. The audience, the crowd was in it, like I was feeling them. They were feeling me, like I was feeling Ruby, like we were feeling everybody. Everybody's feeling everything. No, I just mean like we were really fighting and still connecting and still, you know, taking our time with it. So I was really anxious to look at that match, and I haven't gone to look at it yet.
Oh.
So, but like I said, all I know is how I felt during that felt the most natural that I've ever felt. But I have to hope that shows. But like I said, I shared it. I shared it, but I haven't actually looked at it like all the way through. I haven't watched the whole thing.
Well, I have to look that thing up so I can see it.
Yeah. It should be on my Facebook page. Like I just posted it. It just came out.
Okay. I'll
I
take a trip over there and take a look at it eventually.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to show that. So that one, because when I did the one with Shotzi, my character wasn't quite developed yet as far as being, you know, my savage native style.
Mm-hmm.
But since that match with Shotzi, my character became more of who I am now because of Aero Club. And that only happened in the last year since that Shotzi match. And I feel like that one with Ruby was descriptive of it.
All right. Well, I think that we'll go with Blackheart since you've actually seen that one. That's the one that's going to be the suggested viewing material for anybody that's listening and wants to know about Desi DeRata. The number 2 is going to be the Ruby Reyes match, but you know, once you see it, just leave your comments about how good it was and did the emotion bleed through as she is suggesting.
Yeah, tell me, because I felt like it was, but I don't know yet.
Well, you'll find out eventually, I'm sure. You know what time it is
Ruby's
now.
a brute, so it's... Pardon?
No, go ahead. Finish your statement.
Oh, I was going to say, Ruby Reyes is a brute, so it's fun to feel like I got to fight, you know, like really fight for my life.
Well, I don't know how
I like a
fun that
challenge.
would be. You know, I want to fight for my life. I don't know how fun that would be. I'm not sure. That doesn't sound like my idea of a good time.
See, it does to me, and that's why that King of the Cage fight that I did, which my opponent got scared. She was better than me, but she got scared, and so I didn't feel like I really had to fight for my life because I could tell she was scared, and that's why the whole reason why I'm still doing it. I'm waiting for my other one out of the way.
Yes. Is this the Panda Cup that you compete in?
No, Panda Cup is just a jiu-jitsu match. It happened to be in a cage, but it wasn't MMA. It was just jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Did you see that?
I did.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. I love jiu-jitsu.
See, now I am concerned because I think that is going to encompass and just absorb your life, and wrestling will then be a fond memory. So we have to keep wrestling in there some kind of way.
No, because I feel like wrestling is my job. Wrestling's my first choice, my first love. Wrestling's the only reason why I even started jiu-jitsu. How could I abandon that? So
yes, how could you abandon that? Good.
Never. I haven't even gotten started with it. First of all, when I say I'm going to do something, I always follow through. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than expected, but I always follow through and I always finish it. There's no way I haven't finished wrestling. I told you I had 3 goals, and I mentioned 2 of them, and they've been kind of fulfilled, but not fully. Traveling and TV. Yes. I still need more of those.
Well, see, now, technically you have fulfilled it. You haven't fulfilled the asterisks underneath it. You've been on TV. and you have traveled. You just haven't done it to the extent that you would like. So,
Yes.
so you still have a few more. You know, you have to actually set a bar for how much you're trying to do. Like, what level of TV do I want to be on? Or movie? Do I want a Hollywood blockbuster? Do I need to be involved in that? Do I want to be in a daytime soap, a sitcom, or independent television show, public access TV? So you know that's pretty broad. You gotta narrow that down.
Right. Well, I do in my own head. I just haven't given those little details to you.
Ah.
I do.
Well, when you have those details and you accomplish them, just shoot a message over to the Women's Pro Wrestling Network Facebook page and let me know I did it.
Okay.
I'll be satisfied with that.
Absolutely.
It's time for random questions.
Desi, do you know what time it is? Not literally, but figuratively speaking.
It's 10:45 my time.
Well, like I said, not literally, but figuratively speaking. Figuratively speaking, it's time for random questions.
Okay.
This is the point in the interview where we just toss out some random stuff just to kind of keep the flow, you know, because what's the fun in having an interview if you just can't get random stuff just tossed in there every once in a while? So
Totally.
there's no nerves here. I know when I say that to some folks, they all of a sudden act like I'm hosting The Price is Right or something. I don't know. You know, they ask them weird questions. So here we go. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Model, pro wrestler, fighter, actor, stilt walker, what don't you do? You do a lot of things. I just named off a bunch. So what is it that you don't do?
I don't sit around and twiddle my thumbs.
You don't sit around and twiddle your thumbs. What was this year's Halloween costume for you?
This is the first year that I went as myself because I didn't go anywhere.
What? Oh.
And I'm telling you, literally, the first year in all my life.
So I missed that question by a year. Is that what you're telling me?
But
I should have asked, where did you go as last year's Halloween? What was last year's Halloween costume?
I was a demonic ghost entity.
No, you can't be demonic. Come on, no.
Well,
You do.
well, she had an upside down cross on her forehead. I think that's what it means.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess that would be. But why? You're so sweet. Anyway, name a movie franchise you'd kill to be a part of.
A movie franchise?
Yes. That you would kill to be a part of. Not literally, but you know.
Can we go back to that question?
You got to think about it. Yes, you can go back.
No, okay. Marvel, because I just watched Thor, and I think that I could be a superhero actress.
Ah, okay. So now you got to take the hard question. Marvel is all encompassing, so you have to give me. You got to give me one of these franchises within Marvel. So are you telling me Thor franchise is your answer, or do you have something else within that?
No, not Thor.
Not Thor. Okay, so name me something.
Let's see, the Avengers.
Avengers.
Like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That qualifies.
Okay.
That's a franchise.
Okay. I guess I never learned of franchises before.
Well, you know, if you're gonna talk for, let's say, Transformers is a franchise, they got like what, 7 movies now. Fast and Furious, that's franchise. Avengers, which is part of the umbrella of Marvel, that's a franchise. X-Men, that's franchise. Right. You know, Die Hard, that's an old school franchise. You know, so you know, just
right.
Any of that good stuff. So, but you've gone to Avengers.
Yeah. That's what I would choose.
Indeed. you do a lot of things that are, as I named earlier, but what's a talent that the general public doesn't know about you?
The general public doesn't know that I walk on stilts, but they also don't know that I have taught and have danced pole dance.
Well, I'm pretty sure some they probably don't need to know it, but uh,
Well, no one needs to know any of that.
I feel like I probably opened up a box, but maybe they might miss that part in the interview. Because
Okay.
I'm sure they hear that, somebody's ears are going to perk up. Like, where can I find that? So yeah, we'll move
It was
on.
it was at a yoga studio.
Okay. Well, we'll transition that and say, you was learning DDP yoga or Trish Stratus yoga. That way you can keep it wrestling related.
Okay.
Arrow or Hawkeye, who's the better archer?
Arrow.
Arrow. We going with Arrow?
Yeah.
I'm afraid that's incorrect. No,
I like Hawkeye better, but I don't know. That was
no, there's no wrong answer. Name me a TV show that you're currently into.
iZombie.
iZombie?
Yes.
Okay.
I would put Stranger Things, but it's just too much right now.
Really? Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah.
I am too far behind for me to know if it's too much of Stranger Things or not. I actually just have been watching easy to digest shows on Netflix like The Ranch and the old TV shows that I missed. So
There's
maybe
so many new ones I can't keep up.
I know. I still haven't watched Whatever Happened to Monday. I told myself I would watch this movie, and I heard it was good, but I got to get to it. So that is the one that's on the list. What is your favorite word?
Oh man, I love words. Epoch is one of my faves.
What is your least favorite word?
Hate or can't.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Well, are those all separate things or one thing for all those things?
One thing for all those things, or one of those things. Let's put it that way.
Somebody. Okay, then if it has to be clumped together. A person who knows how to speak what they're thinking and think what they're feeling.
You want a great communicator. There we go. That's
virtually impossible.
In layman's terms. So I'm going to put. Yeah, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. What turns you off?
Someone who communicates all the time things that they don't really mean.
A liar. So again, in layman's terms for the listeners out there. What's your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
What noise or sound do you love?
Men's dress shoes on tile, walking.
Okay. What sound or noise do you hate?
Complaining voices.
What profession other than wrestling would you like to attempt?
What in wrestling?
What profession other than wrestling would you like to attempt?
That I already have it.
Yeah, you've done so much. So I guess I have to add the caveat: you can't be doing something that you've already tried. So let's aim for something that you haven't attempted.
Got it. I intend to be a presenter and public speaker, especially regarding wrestling in the future. That's what I want to do one day.
Okay. What profession would you not like to do?
Anything where I have to work for somebody else and clock in.
Oh, You know, I think we, for the first time on the show, we're going to offer bonus points for that one. If I have a buzzer or a bell sound effect, this is not now the time that I need to toss that in. Uh, you make it to the WWE, and Vince McMahon and or Triple H, because he's pretty powerful there too, is there to welcome you. What would you like to hear him say when you arrive?
I would like to hear him say that they have been waiting for someone like me to speak to my people, their fans.
Fantasy booking.
All right. It is now time for fantasy booking. Are you aware what fantasy booking is?
I would imagine it's my fantasies about who will book me.
Close enough. It is my belief as the host of this show that every wrestler has a angle or a storyline that's kind of tucked away in the back of their mind that they can, like, if I had a chance, this is the story that I would write for myself in this ring. And I believe that you have one tucked away probably in there too, even if you haven't really given it full-blown thought. So what we're going to do now in this little exercise is I am going to ask you to book your own angle and or storyline against whomever and wherever promotion you would have like it to be. Now, the only rule behind this is that it needs to be someone that is active and alive. So, you can't go and say, well, I wrestled off against the fabulous Moolah. She's not alive, so that won't qualify. So, yeah, book me a match.
Right.
Not a match. Book me an angle where Desi DeRata has got something good going on in her story. So, Desi, hit me.
Okay, I got you. I guess, like you said, it doesn't have to be fully thought out. I've never fully
No, it doesn't have to be
wrote
fully
it,
thought out.
but it's been a fleeting thought in my mind for a while. It would be for Lucha Underground, and they would, they're very culturally based, with the Mexican culture and then also the indigenous Aztec cultures. They would bring in Desi DeRata as an indigenous American, and she would wrestle all the girls, including Evil Elise and Katrina, because especially they're evil. And Desi's light will shine, and all the indigenous people will relate to it and want to support this revolution, this movement. And that's all I have.
Well, that's fine. You just cut off somebody and say, that's all I got.
And then, I'm not sure. I don't know what happens in the last season because I didn't watch it. But
well, I didn't either. But they always leave some level of cliffhanger there because they're expecting a fourth one. That's all I know. But it doesn't sound or look too good right now.
yeah.
But perhaps if they find the funding, because I think El Rey still wants to keep them around, maybe, just maybe, they will show back up. Now,
Yeah, that'd be nice.
it would be. Now, I would add in something, solely based on what I talked about with you earlier. And since I don't know if she's retired or not, I'm just going to assume that Beatrice Domino is still active somewhere in the world, or she's taking a hiatus of sorts. So I'm gonna lodge her into my version of the fantasy booking for Desi. I would say if I had the pen and I was booking for you right now, I would have started off with let's say a series of 3 matches with you and Domino going against each other. Of course, one match escalated into the next. We get, let's say she wins the first, you win the second, you go to the third. No holds barred, street fight, blah, blah, blah. You two beat each other literally, figuratively, half to death. to the point that both of you down and nobody wins.
Yeah.
Take camera to the backstage. You're lacing up your boots, or you're taking your boots off, taking off your gear. She comes in and she's pissed off at you. She's yelling at you, going on and blah, blah, blah. You get back up in her face, and throughout the course of this argument, the two of you realize that you got far more in common than you ever thought you could possibly have. Which then raises the whole point of, maybe we've been going about this all wrong. And so the next time we see Desi and Domino, they are not opposed to each other, but they are collective in their fight. They have to pick out somebody that they can beat up on just to kind of, establish the message. So in Shield fashion, at the end of somebody's girl fight, they come out and beat the crap out of both of them. And a new revolution is born.
I like that.
So promoters, book it. Fine, Domino.
I know. We got to figure out what is going on with her. I like that you can relate to that as well, and that's why you like that. I mean, because that's the thing, is that's kind of where our society is, and I think that it would go over really well is we're trying to come together and like find these understandings of as a whole,
Oh, yeah.
not just per race.
No.
But we could work together. That'd be cool.
Yeah, see, there's unity in there. In fact, I think she used to walk around with a shirt that said that somewhere, didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
See,
that's I'm really happy that you brought her up, and I still remember her because it's been so long. She's been gone.
Yeah.
Like a year, almost a year.
And I feel bad that I only had her Facebook. I mean, I wish I had some other way that I could have checked in or something. But yeah, I think hopefully she'll pop back up. That's all I can say. It'll be nice to see her get back on the scene. So now, back to the portion where I can rope this into the interview. So we have covered so much ground here. We've gone through your wrestling background, your pedigree, or your fighting pedigree, because you're more than just a pro wrestler right now, and it sounds like you're on the fence of wrestling kind of being pushed off into the background until you move.
Wrestling's going to be back in the foreground when I move and can be and able to train at a location of trains.
And we are waiting for you to do that. And
yes.
Also, very selfishly, Mr. Green is waiting for Desi to make her Atlanta or just her Georgia wrestling debut. Because I feel like there's a couple of talents out on this end of the spectrum that might make for interesting matchups, such as a Desi DeRata versus Super Pereira, or Desi DeRata versus Dementia DeRose, or Desi DeRata versus Kiera Hogan and other young ladies, Priscilla Kelly, perhaps. So those matches might be wonderful and interesting to have, or perhaps Desi DeRata versus the powerhouse Jessica Lee. Who knows? Any one of those matches, I think, would be wonderful and interesting. And of course, cheap plug here.
Yeah, give me a challenge.
Give you a challenge.
Yeah, no one under 5'5".
No one under 5'5". Okay, well then, America Strong it is. I think that's what you're looking for. You need to look her up. America Strong. You need to look her up because she's a big one, and you talk about powerhouses. She is extremely powerful, and you say you like them big, then she would be right up your alley.
Yeah. Yes, I need someone to actually have to defend myself for.
And now that I think of it, just given her gimmick and where she's likely to wrestle, yeah, you would probably be walking in as heel more often than not, and it would be a natural clash. I'll put it that way.
Wow, that sounds good to me.
I mean,
America's
strong. Just take the A off of America, and you got it.
okay.
So,
Yeah, that sounds like a fan favorite, though, already.
well, depending on where she's working, yeah. Just bear in mind she's walking out wearing an American flag on some occasions. So yes, she's. So you walk out with your Arrow Club gear. She comes out with an American flag on. Yeah, you're probably going to be heel in that equation.
Probably. I'll come out with my T-shirts that say "Make America Native Again."
Ooh, oh yeah, you gotta get some heat. I think we just fantasy booked you a new one.
I think that's perfect.
I don't know. I might need to take up a collection and get you a plane ticket out here.
I'm ready.
I mean that's just too good a fantasy booking to pass up.
You know what? I have to agree. I didn't even know until just now.
And as I was getting to say that in my cheap plug for myself, you can study America by going on to the Women's Pro Wrestling Network YouTube channel. Got a couple of matches of her there, ready to go, free for everybody, not just Desi DeRata, but you listening out there as well. You can get these matches absolutely free. Of course, it's YouTube. And if you see any links down in the description, as in links for Amazon and things like that, do us a solid on the channel. Click that link if you're going to buy something off Amazon, because it does do a little kickback for the channel, which helps keep us going and alive. It keeps the Facebook page up, Instagram, YouTube, because, believe it or not, these things, as cheap as they may be on occasion, will cost money. Hard drives cost money. Computer maintenance costs money. Me getting my cameras up and running. The audio equipment that's used. All of these things cost little bits of cash. So, if you love hearing the young ladies such as Desi on the line here, who has been wonderful tonight, then help me keep Desi and others in the flow of the programming by just clicking that Amazon link. Don't cost you anything extra. It's just a little help out for the show.
Awesome.
Any final words, Desi?
I am checking out America Strong, and she looks great. She looks strong, obviously. I like that she's gorilla pressing someone. That's like my dream move I'm working towards.
You're working towards gorilla pressing someone or being gorilla pressed?
Towards giving the gorilla press to someone.
Do you think you can get her up?
I don't know. She looks pretty hefty with all that muscle.
She's a big girl now.
Yeah. I'm looking at her photos. She looks great. She looks great, but I could take her.
You could take her. Well, I'm gonna say that if you're not on our YouTube channel, you can go to our Facebook page and click that videos link, and what's right there at top of the link is America Strong versus Pandora. So if you really want to see it, probably the best match that she's had to date. That would be it.
Okay, I'm going to do that as soon as we get off the interview.
I've given you a wealth of information and a wealth of stuff, and I still have. I know I'm on overload right now. I'm just bombarding you with just stuff, just boom, one after the other. So that would do it. I think you've given me the closing words. You've given me great answers to the random questions, and you gave me your fantasy booking. We actually double fantasy booked. We've done far more than what I was expecting to do, and I think that last fantasy booking, Desi DeRata versus America Strong, I think that match needs to happen somewhere, and I might need to have to.
That is now. Yes, that is now undoubtedly my fantasy booking now. I didn't know before, but now I know that that's it. So if I ever get asked again, That's what I would say.
Well, there you go. Oh, see, look, we not covered you for that now. So when somebody asks you, hey, who do you want to take on? Say America Strong.
Yep.
She's a big Amazonian powerhouse, and I like it. I want to fight her.
Yes. Took the words out of my mouth.
There we have it. So, folks, now you know what you need to push your local promoters for. Whether you be in California, whether you be in Georgia, you need to try to get that match taken care of one way or the other. I certainly have to thank Desi for taking time out of her night to converse with me at length in this podcast about who she is, what she's doing, and I don't even think we've even gotten real deep into her pro wrestling life. I know there's so many other things, but it has been a long podcast as it is. You know, I try to keep these things narrowed down, and we have gone 2 hours strong, and I think that's enough. I'm gonna have to save the rest of it for another day. After she gets back in that pro wrestling ring, after she's back into her training, after she gets some more matches underneath her, I think we'll invite her back on the show and chat it up once again. So for me,
yes, I would love that.
And we would love to have you because you seem, like I said, very very cool and laid back person, and probably that's because he worked out all the aggression earlier tonight. So that's good for me. So for me. And the Women's Pro Wrestling Network, and for Desi DeRata, I want to say so long, everybody, for listening, and take us out on the next podcast. And be sure to follow us on all the social medias: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and of course the website WPNWrestling.com. So thank you for tuning in, and good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.